Welcome back to Call What You Want. I'm Jimmy with Chuck and Jesse, and we have a big topic to get into for this part of the show, and it's about our goalkeepers of the U.S. men's national team. Are we in crisis? Because Matt Turner not looking great in Nottingham Forest, so much so that the latest news is that Forest might be looking to get Keylor Navas back
again
into the team. That's the latest rumor right now, is that they're that desperate that they're looking to go get Keylor Navas, who played with Forest last year. Not too great. I don't think he did that time around. 2 clean sheets in, I think, 20-ish games.
He ended my Premier League coaching at Leeds.
Well, that sucks. You know what? We don't want Keylor Navas. We don't like him on the show.
He had
did he have a blinder?
His
Did he have a blinder
game in years. Best game in years he had. And we lost 1-0. Absurd. We should have won.
How many and excuse me, Keylor Navas, how many he had a blinder that game? He made a ton of saves.
Yeah.
Could you say trigger? You said Kaylor and Jesse went.
Yeah. Did you see my eyes twitching?
He stood on his head for 90 minutes.
First half, I think we outshot them 10-1, and he made like 3 ridiculous saves. We should have.
Yeah, that sucks.
I remember the game.
Nottingham Forest shouldn't have even been in the match. But
Forest, we're also looking at another goalkeeper from RB Leipzig, who I think you crossed over with as well, in a different way, Peter Golazo. And RB Leipzig has said they are not going to let him go. So that is good news for Matt Turner fans, and Matt Turner in particular. Talk to us about Golazo. That would have been a good signing. He's a good player.
Pete Golazo is a very good goalkeeper, and he's good in all phases of the game and incredibly intelligent. So he's a very, very, very good goalkeeper. But I don't think Matt Turner's in a crisis situation. I think it's good for him to be at a difficult place in the Premier League. And obviously he's not playing for the best team in the league. So it's not going to be so easy for him at all levels to establish himself. The key for him is to just try to create more stable performances, right? Some of the mistakes obviously put more pressure on himself and the team. And they can create this dialogue, and maybe even not, who knows how serious this dialogue is about the club going out and getting a goalkeeper. But Nottingham Forest is kind of always going to be in a situation where they're fighting to keep their head above water. And when you're the goalkeeper of a team like that, it's not an easy task. But if he can stabilize himself, mature, continue to develop, this can also be a place where he can grow and continue to get better, and that can ultimately benefit the U.S. national team. So, he's already been through moments where they took him out and put him back in, and that's a little bit of what it will be like to always be at Nottingham Forest until they ever learn to establish themselves as a mid-table team in the Premier League.
Well, he got a clean sheet, Chuck, in the FA Cup against Bristol City. Didn't have to make any significant saves in that one. I'm sure that was a relief in some capacity. But 16 games for him, for Forest this season, 1,440 minutes, 2 clean sheets, including this one against Bristol City, 70% save percentage. Now, I think what's interesting about the stats that we're digging up, he has the second worst, and bear with me here, this is quite the mouthful. He has the second worst post-shot expected goals against minus goals allowed. Yeah, do the math on that, everybody. In the Premier League at -5. Only Brentford's Mark Flecken is worse at -8.8. Yeah, I mean, we can say whatever we want. Apparently, that's a stat that people are paying attention to, and he's the second worst in the Premier League, Chuck.
Yeah, let's just say, in hindsight, this wasn't a great move to leave Arsenal for Nottingham Forest, given that, this is a team that's
better. He's playing, though, than not playing.
Yeah. Like I said, hindsight, to look back and go, oh, you're leaving a team that's competing in Champions League and competing for the English Premier League title to go to a Nottingham Forest that, the quality drops drastically, and all of a sudden, you're going to be blamed for a lot of the issues because your bottom line, your back line isn't that strong. And so you throw in losing key parts for African Cup of Nations with this group. When you lose 2-3 solid players in your starting 11 plus injuries, then all of a sudden it goes from competing to surviving. And I think the mistakes he's made, it just compiles onto the pressure that they already have. And so you have to have a blame. Cooper got axed. And next thing it's Matt Turner in goal. We all know he's a great kid. We all know he's a great he's a great shot stopper. He's one of the, when he is on form, in form, confident, he's one of the best goalkeepers that we've seen in a while. So I think, yes, he just needs to get back to being consistent and not getting in his head, because I think that's where we're seeing Matt Turner is everything is nervous when the ball comes back to his feet. You know, is he making the right pass? Does he play long? Does he play short? Is he sure at the ball? I just feel like there's a lot of all these questions, and he's lost a little bit of the focus.
What's interesting too, and with regard to what he's very good at, so the things he's not good at that have been highlighted or I mean, in the spotlight ultimately for this is his lack of ability with his feet, his comfortability with his feet. He has the second most errors leading to goals in the Premier League, Jesse. And I just think there's room now for somebody to potentially challenge him for that number one spot. He's been excellent for us. There's no question there. But when it comes to club form, it's been a little bit uneven. It's probably the best way to say it. So Ethan Horvath is also at Forest. He's not playing. Probably should go out on loan. And then you have Zach Steffen coming back into Colorado Rapids. From what I understand, his knees aren't great. So we'll see what he looks like moving forward. And then what? We have Drake Callender and Celentano and
Drake Callender is even further down the list than Schulte, because Schulte got the start in January camp.
Exactly right. So it for the first time in a long time, it feels like we have some uncertainty in a position that's been such a lock for us for so many years.
I wouldn't consider Matt Turner an uncertainty. I think his performances with the national team have been very good. So I think he's pretty well established. But I do think it's very key for Ethan Horvath to go out on loan and get some games. And you know, if he can perform well, then he can make a case for himself to come into camp and at least compete and push Matt Turner a little bit. So, you know, this is often, of course, we want our number one guy. But I often think like what made Casey Keller so good was Brad Friedel and vice versa, right? As they knew that they had to be performing at a high level, because if they weren't, there was a chance that they were going to slip out of the position with the U.S. national team. This is what I was saying before about internal competition. So, you know, Matt needs to simplify his game and play to his strengths. All right. Yes. So they playing out of like just clear balls out. You know, and obviously there are a lot of goalkeepers in the modern game. They like to play. They like to have the ball at their feet. They like to move around the box and try to be clever with some of their positioning. If you're playing for Barcelona, if you're playing for Man City, these themes and tactical nuances are incredibly important. If you're playing for Nottingham Forest, that is not. Get the ball away, play simple, don't make mistakes, and play to your strengths. Play within your wheelhouse. And if Matt Turner does that, I think he can show that he's a quality goalkeeper.
Jimmy, I want to throw this out there too. You mentioned Matt Turner going to Arsenal versus maybe staying in MLS, playing with Revolution, and, you know, being the best goalkeeper in MLS for the rest of his career. My thing would be, wouldn't you want him to go test his ability and be pushed in order to grow? Because it's very easy. He could have just stayed with the Revs and signed the best goalkeeper contract in Major League Soccer history and stay there for the rest of his career. But then I would ask you, is he still getting pushed? Yeah, he's given playing time. It's guaranteed. Versus go play for the second best team in the Premier League. Go play in a couple of Champions League matches. Go test yourself in training every single day. And it's not going to be all roses. You're not going to play. Some days you'll play, sometimes you won't. You're going to be judged on every mistake. I'd rather that than put my feet up. I'll be at training. I'll be at training when I'm there.
Of course.
See you tomorrow, coach.
Absolutely.
Well, what I find interesting about that is that that's what the player would do. I mean, obviously Matt Turner has cut his teeth trying to get better every day. So I get that. You go to if you came back to MLS and you had that where you weren't being pushed, there's that external motivation, I suppose, and you can feel that pressure, that the pressure that you're talking about. I do think this is better for him. He's going to have to fight through this. He's going to get thicker skin. Him having that mental fortitude in tough moments is going to be incredibly important for the U.S. this summer and in 2026. So the more that he can cut his teeth, figuring out how to solve those and to stay as emotionally steady as he can to continue to make plays, even if things aren't going well, is only going to serve him and going to serve the team moving forward. So I'm all about that. But,
well said, Jimmy. Well said.
Thank you. But I obviously I want these guys not to have competition, but Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I just don't want to. I hate seeing
He'll
our
be
guys
fine.
make mistakes, man. I hate seeing our guys make
He'll
mistakes.
be fine.
It bums me out. He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
He will be fine.
Yeah,
He'll be better for it.
I went from coach
Yes,
to dad very quickly there,
absolutely.
but yeah.
Jimmy Dad Conrad.
That's
Jimmy
it. Well, no, I'm a cone right now.
slow-footed
cone.
dad.
I mean,
Conrad.
Cone.
Again,
dad.
there's average to good, and then there's bad to average.
Dad. Jimmy Con Dad, Jimmy Cone Dad, whatever you guys want to call me, it doesn't matter. We're going to take our next break. When we come back, we have a special story with Jesse Marsch, story time with Jesse Marsch about his relationship or his time, or I don't even know what we're going to see, but it's about Jurgen Klopp. And I'm going to sit here and eat some popcorn and listen to it. So don't go anywhere.
Bye, my lord.